You can spend thousands of dollars on a gaming PC, but the truth is, if you're just getting started with PC gaming, you don't actually need that much money. With enough time and a bit of effort, you can put together a PC that's cheap, but way more powerful than you'd expect. And today I'm going to show you a budget build that might surprise you with its performance. Right now, my budget isn't exactly huge, so I need a solid foundation to build this system on. And as usual, I'm going to start with used office PCs. These machines are incredibly easy to find on online marketplaces, and there are tons of them available. The reason is simple. Companies upgrade their systems all the time and get rid of the old ones pretty quickly. You'll often see models like Dell Optiplex, HP ProDesk, and other similar systems, with a wide range of configurations to choose from. And most importantly, the prices are very reasonable. That said, if you want room to upgrade with a dedicated graphics card or better cooling, it's best to go with a mini tower case. After some searching, I ended up picking up an Acer Veriton ES2735G for $123. According to the seller, this system comes with an i5-9500 8GB of RAM and a 320GB hard drive, which is a pretty solid starting point for this build. Now let's power it on and make sure everything's working properly. Alright, we've got a display and it boots straight into Windows, although it's pretty slow right now. That's fine. The important thing is that the system is stable. Let me quickly check the specs. An i5-9500 with 8GB of RAM. That matches the seller's description. So yeah, this is a decent platform to start with. That said, 8GB of RAM isn't enough for gaming, so I'll need to add another 8GB stick to run dual channel. And of course, we're gonna need a dedicated graphics card, but before that, I need to find out how much power the PSU inside this system can actually deliver. To figure that out, I'm gonna remove the side panel and take a look at everything inside before deciding on any upgrades. The interior space is actually quite roomy, enough to fit a dual fan GPU. However, there's one major issue. The included power supply is only 180 watts. That means I'm limited to low power graphics cards that don't require an external power connector. On the plus side, the motherboard does have an M2 slot, so I can upgrade to an NVMe 2 SSD to significantly improve system speed. Wait a second, there's something a bit unusual here. The chipset heatsink is missing. It looks like someone removed it earlier, but that's fine. I can always find a replacement heatsink and deal with that later. As for processing power, I'm currently working with an i5 CPU, 6 cores and 6 threads, with a maximum boost clock of up to 4.4 GHz. That's more than enough to handle most mainstream games today. So now I need to choose a GPU that balances well with this CPU, while still staying within the power limits of the PSU. Since I can't use a card with an external power connector, I've got a few familiar options. AMD's RX 550, the GTX 1650, and the RTX 3056 GB. Looking at the overall picture, the RTX 3056 GB is clearly the most powerful option here. There are both 8GB and 6GB versions on the market. Compared to the 8GB model, the 6GB version has slightly less VRAM and slightly lower performance, but in return it offers very low power consumption, runs cool and stable, and still keeps key RTX features like DLSS, NVENC, and basic ray tracing. For what this PC needs, the RTX 3056 GB is clearly the most sensible choice, and I managed to pick this card up for $145. The next thing I need to do is upgrade the RAM. Right now, the system already has one stick of RAM running at a 2400 MHz speed, so to make sure it runs properly in dual channel, I need to find another stick with the same speed, and I managed to pick one up for $24. The last missing piece of this PC is the storage. The included hard drive is way too slow and really not suitable for gaming, so I'm going to upgrade to an NVMe SSD. Luckily, the motherboard already has an M2 slot, so going with an NVMe drive makes the most sense here. It'll improve both boot times and game loading speeds. Since this PC is mainly for gaming and not heavy workloads, I decided that 256 gigabytes is more than enough. SSD prices have gone up slightly recently, so my advice is simple. Choose a capacity that actually matches your real needs. All in, I spent a total of $315 on this PC. Now that all the parts are ready, it's time to start upgrading this PC. Even though someone already did a pretty good job cleaning the inside, I still decided to remove the CPU cooler and apply fresh thermal paste, just to be safe. This helps keep the CPU more stable, especially during long gaming sessions. Alright, everything's done. Let's power it on. Wait, there's no signal going to the monitor. Looks like something went wrong. First, I'll check the most basic things, starting with the RAM slot I just installed. I remove the RAM, clean the contact pins, and then reseat it again. Okay, now we've got a display, and the system is booting normally. This is actually a very common issue when working with used parts. Over time, RAM slots can collect dust or light oxidation if they haven't been used for a while. A quick clean is usually all it takes to get everything working smoothly again. After finishing all the upgrades and making sure the system is running stable, it's time to test real-world performance. First, I'll check the CPU performance using CPU-Z. In this test, the i5-9500 scores 466 points in single-core and 2582 points in multi-core. Next up is the GPU benchmark. I'm using Heaven Benchmark, set to medium with DirectX 11. With this configuration, the GPU scores 3735 points, with an average FPS of around 148. Now let's move on to real-world gaming tests. Starting with CS2, I'm playing at 1080p on medium settings. Right from the start, the game feels very smooth, with FPS consistently staying above 110. In this title, the RTX 3050 is using around 4.5 gigabytes of RAM. Overall, this setup handles CS2 with ease. Next is Cyberpunk 2077, a demanding game and a great way to test the system's limits. I'm still playing at 1080p on medium settings. At this level, the average FPS is around 73, and performance is fairly stable. However, the GPU is running almost at full load. The 1% load drops to around 40 frames per second, which shows that even with a heavy game like this, the system still delivers a smooth and stable gaming experience. Next up, we move on to Fortnite. For this game, I'm playing at 1080p with medium settings. The FPS ranges between 110 and 120 frames per second. However, you can see that the CPU is working quite hard and isn't perfectly stable in some situations, which is totally understandable since Fortnite is fairly CPU heavy. Even so, the overall experience is still very smooth and stable. Alright, now let's move on to a familiar AAA title, The Witcher 3. This time I'm still playing at 1080p or medium settings with ray tracing enabled. At this configuration, the FPS hovers around 38 frames per second. The GPU is running almost at full load, but the real-world experience is still quite smooth, with no noticeable stuttering or frame drops. Once I turn ray tracing off, the FPS jumps up to over 110 frames per second. At this point, the load shifts more toward the CPU, with usage sitting at around 74%. This clearly shows how much of an impact ray tracing has on performance with this setup. Next is a very demanding game that a lot of people are interested in right now, Black Myth: Wukong. For this title, I'm playing at 1080p on low settings. With this configuration, the FPS stays between 60 and 70, and it's fairly stable. This shows that this system can handle a demanding game like Black Myth: Wukong. If your main goal is just casual gaming, this is still a very solid option. And that's everything for this PC. Starting from a used office machine, we've turned it into a system that's powerful enough to smoothly run most popular games at 1080p, including some fairly demanding AAA titles. This really shows that getting into PC gaming doesn't require spending a lot of money. What matters most is choosing the right parts and finding the right balance between performance and cost. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos.